Hello everyone, today you will hear an interesting story. My brother and I have been inseparable since childhood. We grew up together and went through a lot of difficult situations, and no one in our lives could ever break us up, even though they tried. I love my brother very much, and I try to help him in many ways. Together, we were looking for our first earnings when we were 10 years old, collecting nuts in the village. We were businessmen, of course we were, and even now we have our own business. We work together. Both of us understand each other very well, and we often sit in a restaurant and remember something from our childhood, although it would seem that we have discussed everything possible. We had an eventful childhood. On our birthdays, our parents made us quests in which the birthday boy and his friends had to find a surprise with the help of notes. I remember turning 7 and being given a nice big car, a Mercedes. My brother was upset then, but I happily let him play, and when it was his turn to receive a gift, my parents bought a similar one, and then we played together. We never fought, not to say that there were strong quarrels. Usually brothers or sisters don't get along much, but we were able to figure out how to be friends. It was partly thanks to our parents, who gave us everything equally and taught us how to be friends. They showered us with love, gifts, and care, and we often went on vacations and various excursions. They made us read several books per summer, and we didn't mind. Therefore, we grew up well-read and clever, and got our first official job at the office together. In general, if it wasn't for my parents, we wouldn't have achieved much. First of all, they paid for all of our schooling and bought us an apartment. But even after that, they always told us about the value of money, taught us how to earn and reach new heights, to self-develop and not to stand still. As students, we faced the problem of our tastes being too similar. We always liked the same girl, and if it happened, we both stopped talking to her so as not to hurt each other's feelings. And after that, we decided to give up on a serious relationship after a bad experience. We were totally into studying and earning money. We set a goal to buy a car. But my brother reached it faster, which made me a little upset, and I told Kevin about it. It was stupid to play this race. Now I don't want to achieve anything at all. Don't you think you're always ahead of me? I sat in the second seat of his car and looked at the buttons, which glowed bright red. Brother Louis, what are you doing? You can take it anytime you need it. Just be careful not to have an accident. I won't survive the loss of my only and irreplaceable brother. Oh, really? Thank you. I'll definitely buy mine more expensive than yours. We laughed, and the older one nodded. He was only a year older, and I really always thought he was better. But I calmed myself down, though seeing all the girls clinging to him made me feel uncomfortable. I had their attention too. I just probably didn't notice it, didn't I? And after a while, I bought a more expensive car, and that's when everyone started asking me for a car. This car has become a kind of solace for me. Just imagine, after a hard evening's work, when the sun is just beginning to set, you drive out of the parking lot onto the highway. Not to say that it is empty. At this time, just about everyone is returning from work, but I know a place where it is absolutely empty. I put the pedal to the floor and hear it growl, which gives me goosebumps. It's probably the best feeling. I love the smell of gasoline. It's my quirk, but when I inhale it, I can feel all that drive. It's like swallowing the breath of my panther. That's what I call this black predator. She looks awesome, the kind I dreamed of when I was a kid. And fulfilling my childhood dreams is a great feeling. Looking in the mirror on the top right, I saw a confident man with brown hair and black as tear eyes. I think everyone was drowning in them. Pulling on my black glasses, I gripped the steering wheel tighter and began to overtake the cars. Getting out first. But now I could play catch-up because the drivers behind me were not happy, unlike me. That's in the rearview mirror. I notice a bird of my flight and I press on the gas, considerably distancing myself with a wild roar. A smile appears on my face all by itself. I notice that a girl is sitting behind the glass and dumbfoundedly look around her. She took advantage of this and sharply rushed forward. I opened my mouth, trying to catch up with her, looking only at the trunk of the car in front. We drove like that for another 20 minutes before I blinked my headlights and pulled over to the side of the road. She repeated after me and got out of the car, tapping her heels briskly. "Racer, hi. I'm Samantha," as she took off her glove and gave me her hand, and I immediately wrapped my lips around her delicate palm, examining her from head to toe. "Louise. Nice to meet you, m'lady." I reluctantly let go of her hand and met her deep, bottomless, blue eyes. I think I immediately fell in love with her. Thus were we rushing to the restaurant. The scent of her perfume clouded my mind, and her shapely legs did not leave my mind. "Let's go, can you follow me?" She laughed, and I got in the car. "I can give you a head start, honey," I said. I wanted to beat her. She just grinned at me and walked toward the red car, right to the color of her frank dress. I liked her, and I pulled my tie back slightly, trying to breathe. I tried not to look at her wiggling ass, but she gave me the impression she was a fire that appeared before me. "Hot stuff. I'll catch up with you in a minute," I whispered, starting the car and watching her disappear in a second. "We'll see who's who." I was in the mood to tear and throw. I grabbed the steering wheel, put the pedal down, and the car sped off like an angry dog off the chain. I immediately overtake her and head for the nearest restaurant, which seems to have recently opened. It's a nice place nearby. She jerks up behind me, and I feel a little tense, afraid of losing to this chick. The red car is practically clinging to me from behind, and I relax and fall behind her. It's hard to describe my emotions at this moment, when such speed makes you squeeze into the seat and she becomes practically uncontrollable. This is done on purpose. It's hard to turn the steering wheel as if it's stiff. I get to the right place, slow down, and wait for Samantha, looking in the mirror. She stops. You can see it in her face. She's angry. I get out, lock the doors, and walk over to her, giving her a hand. "What's up, baby?" I smirked all over, wrapping my arms around her hand and intertwining my fingers. I think, let's go. I pulled her roughly around the waist. I didn't care how she reacted. I won her over. That's how I felt. She belonged to me completely, so fragile, but at the same time strong, brave. I walked her to an empty table by the window and threw my jacket over her shoulders. It's a solskjacket. It's a little chilly in here. They bring a menu, but I'm not really interested in it right now. I cringe as she looks me over. There is romance and passion in the air. Like someone calls me. I get up from the table. Order whatever you want, baby. I take my phone out of my pants pocket and take the call. Hello, Cousin. I'm in the middle of something. Is it urgent? My brother called, which made me worried about our date with the girl. I mean, what if it's about to get ruined? Comes Reese's Tookie Pyres. I'm drunk and I want to hang out. I thought I'd come to you. He mumbled relaxed, but I bit my lip in anger and tried to calm myself down. I couldn't take it out on my brother for some kind of fun. Okay, I'll go to our apartment first, and then we'll go to the club after, okay? My brother agreed, and I went back to the nice lady, who'd already put down the menu. I turned totions. I called rudely and ordered my main course and some juice for us, because we still have to get home. What do you do? Ask me a question? I have my own business with my brother. I answered and put a piece of meat in my mouth, feeling my stomach rumbling from the pleasant smells here. What about you? I dipped into her eyes with interest, as if in a pool. I'm in business too. My dad's selling cars. She wrapped her lips around the straw and took a sip of orange juice. I had some naughty thoughts in my head. This girl was extraordinary, as if she was provoking me with her movements on purpose. I felt her knee touch mine. A wave of goosebumps came over me, and I shuddered. We chatted some more and drove to her house, leaving the red car there. She got into mine, and out of the corner of my eye, I noticed her dress was up. Oh shit. I drove as fast as I could, toward our house, occasionally glancing at her feet. Another slut. But there was something about her that caught my eye, piqued my interest. Maybe she wasn't like that. Maybe we were soulmates. She's so easy. I looked around at her hair, which was fluttering in the wind. You are beautiful. The words flew out of my mouth, and I stopped at the entryway. We both go out and sharply lift her in my arms. She cries out in surprise and laughs. With one hand, I open the door, take her inside, and put only in the elevator. I press against the wall, pushing her to the very last floor. I press my lips against hers and kiss her greedily, feeling her crumbling in my arms. I stroke her waist and hear the elevator stop. I take her to my cozy little nest, my room with its panoramic windows. And behind them, a beautiful view of the city at night. I got a bottle of expensive wine and glasses from the main bar and poured us some. She began to greedily drink the wine, and I took her up on her idea and poured the alcohol into myself in a gulp. And more, until she herself climbed on my lap and began to kiss me. Everything that happened next was a real passion. She was crazy, probably the best sex of my life. Every touch was like an electric shock. We were burning, we were unbearably hot. Her gaze only made us speed up and be rougher, tougher. And when there were fireworks between us, we pressed against each other and tried to catch our breath. But I heard the sound of the front door opening and ordered Samantha to get dressed and go to the shower. I put on my shorts and head into the living room, out of breath. Kevin turns on the light and looks dumbfounded at the half-naked girl. Samantha? He pronounces, causing my insides to clench. You know her? I raised my eyebrows in surprise, and the girl slipped into the bathroom, not wanting to figure it all out. I know her better than you. I even wanted to introduce you, but I see you get along just fine without me. He boiled and then collapsed on the couch, covering his face with his hands. Fucking slut. I thought we were serious. He punched his fist. Kevin, I'm sorry. I had no idea. We were racing together, and then afterwards, it's not my fault, you know. If I'd known, I wouldn't have taken it. I sat down next to my brother and sighed in frustration. See, I don't know how he felt at that moment, but he forgave the blue-eyed girl, much to my surprise. And after that, literally a month later, they started dating. It struck me, but I didn't want to interfere in my brother's business. He is older, and after all, this is his life. Instantly cooled down to that girl, we remained ordinary friends as planned. I saw her quite often at general parties with Kevin, and when I met her lustful gaze, I put out the fire inside me. It was uncomfortable. Part of me was disgusted that I had done that. After a while, one weekday morning, Kevin and I were interviewing. We had been looking for an experienced employee for a long time and still couldn't find one. A cure level of English, Kevin asked the question, looking at the wallpaper on his phone where there was a half-naked Samantha. I tried not to look there. I didn't care. Well, medium, he quietly said. The guy sitting across from me. We'll call you back. I smiled, watching the joy on his face. How wrong he was to think we would take him in. He walks out, closing the door carefully, and I grin after him and press the call button. Next, in a gruff, low voice, I say and release the key. The door opens, and my brother, without looking up, asks the name of the person who enters. And I stared dumbfoundedly at the person who has just entered our office. Is it the wrong door by any chance? Caroline? When he heard the pleasant voice, he looked up and examined her. It's not nice, because he's in a relationship, and I can see his interest in her in his eyes. Carolyn, tell me about yourself, I said calmly, and I glanced at her. She, on the other hand, sat quietly on the leather armchair in front of us, putting her leg over her leg, feeling absolutely confident. She began to tell us about her studies in London, and we listened with interest, not believing our ears. A folder with her diplomas and certificates fell on our table. Commendable. Kevin came out, looking at the girl and the red diploma with admiration. I kept my eyes on her too. Her kind green eyes and dark curly hair made me cringe. I had never felt this way before. I didn't want to take her. I just wanted to walk through the park or along the ocean. I let their conversation pass my ears and tried to concentrate. We need to discuss some points, but so far you are the best candidate for the job. Give your contacts and we'll call you. Her brother handed her the folder and stared at her heel. When the door slammed, we looked at each other. Did you have a crush? I asked sadly. I remind you, you have Samantha. I started scribbling something on a paper. She's a nice girl, nothing more. And you, how you got lost? Where's our confident Louis? There's something wrong with you lately. My brother got up and put the extra papers off the table in a drawer. Surely, what could possibly make me feel bad at all? Maybe because I was hoping to spend more than one meeting with Samantha, or maybe I fell in love with her. Yes, this girl also sparked interest, but I'm so wrapped up in myself and my own thoughts that I don't even want to think about a relationship. I'm sure I'll crash again. It's okay, I said coldly, and we began to conduct the interview further. Rewind a little. That night, I got drunk out of my mind and texted this green-eyed girl. We met and she dragged me home and bored me into the morning. Here you go, it's a pill. Should help. She handed me a glass of cold water and a pickle. I looked at her incredulously, trying to get my eyes open. Thank you, why is she in my house? I asked myself in my mind as I drained my glass. It became much easier, and I collapsed back on the pillow while she continued to admire me and smile thoughtfully. She cooked the most delicious dinner, which was probably the key to my broken heart, her care and love. From that moment, our relationship was born. I completely let Samantha go, and 2 years later, we married Caroline. She didn't reveal herself to me until later, but I realized that she was incredibly kind, sweet. I drowned in her eyes every time, and she was gentle. I wanted to kiss her whole body from dawn till dusk. We were already planning children. My life was getting better, and I felt uplifted every day. The only thing I worried about was the fact that Caroline often stayed late at work. I didn't understand what she could have been doing there for another 20 minutes. But I was going home and asked Kevin, who had started working late and was now dropping my wife off at home. I sat down on the couch and began to look through luxury apartments. I wanted to choose something cozy for my future family because I really want to have a baby. And still living in the old apartment is not good for me. Kevin rarely comes here. He stays at Samantha's more often, but I still want to build my own little nest. A car pulled up in front of the house, and I looked out the window. It was Kevin. I decided to look at them some more, and what I saw next freaked me out a little bit. She kissed him. It made me jealous and my heart ached. Well, Kevin, my older brother, and they absolutely trusted him. A few minutes later, she got up and walked into the hallway. I tacked right away. It wasn't right, started swearing on emotion. I don't want you to kiss him, okay? He's a man, and I'm jealous. She nodded and cried. She's so tender after all. I stepped over and held her close to me, wiping her tears away. I tried to let the situation go, brushed it off with a casual friendly kiss. After, now I'd set some boundaries and everything would be fine. Not going to break up over such a trifle. So one day, I decided to pretend to go home and follow them myself. And I did it for a reason. Kevin, I missed you so much. She jumped on our desk in his office and spread her legs. I was furious, but I held the beast in my hands. Okay. Caroline. I'd known her for 2 years, but here was Kevin, my brother I'd been through so many years with, betraying me and sleeping with my wife on a regular basis. It made me want revenge, brutal revenge. The threats through a crack in the door. I took a few pictures and left there in a hurry, but not to my own. Samantha, we need to talk right away. I spoke in a frustrated voice as I pulled up to her house. Then, so dizzy dark in the eyes, I quickly made my way to her apartment, walked in, and hugged her tightly. And I needed to pour my heart out to someone. I understand that this is not right at all because she also cheated on me, but she became a friend to me who will always support. Really, what happened? The frightened girl also clung to me, and I frantically pulled out my phone and showed her the pictures, watching her reaction. Samantha sighed disappointedly, her eyes sparkling. I have a revenge plan for both of them. It didn't even seem to need to be said. She pressed her lips to mine and I turned on the camera. I felt disgust because for so many years I had rejected her and still unfortunately love Caroline. I imagined her, created the illusion that we were fine, and it was her body, her soft, smooth hands. When I stopped the video, at the point where she began to unzip her fly, I pulled away and she responded, "I'll take the business away from him and buy you and me an apartment, don't you think?" I lay down, trying to catch my breath and get my condition back to normal. "Louis, look, we can only be friends," she said quietly. I got attached to Kevin, and I can't do that. I think you can't either. And I thought she never loved him. Maybe I wanted her to love me back then, and all those looks were just self-inflicted. Don't say a word to him. I'll do it myself, thank you. I jumped out of the apartment. I felt a little better, but this whole sudden upheaval made me get drunk. I didn't go home, went straight to the office in the morning and thought about how I could take the business away from my brother. I searched through the papers and found a document saying that most of the office belonged to me, which surprised me. Did my father really love either of us more? Trusted me. I always thought my father loved my older brother more, that the whole world was at his feet, all the girls, all the money. But I was wrong. Wrong about my brother, wrong about love. Maybe I should stop stepping on the same rate. I signed his part over to myself and returned home satisfied, though the act was accomplished through forged papers and connections. "Caroline?" I called softly to her, taking off my shoes in the hallway. I went inside the apartment, and she ran out to me, smiling with all her teeth. "What are you smiling at, you little prick?" I smiled back at her, watching her immediately disappear. "Excuse me?" She frowned. "How long have you been sleeping with Kevin?" I sat down on the couch, not taking my eyes off her. "What are you talking about? Sleeping with your brother? Are you out of your mind?" She looked away, looking guiltily at the vase in the corner of the room. "How long? Since the beginning? Since the very first days?" I took my phone out of my pocket and showed her the picture, then dialed one number. "Put Caroline Smith on the blacklist. Figure out a way to make sure she doesn't get any job at all, okay?" I hung up, looking at my soon-to-be ex-wife. Stupid sat on her knees in front of me, begging for forgiveness. "I sold your apartment, and I'm not gonna pay you back at work. Homeless and unemployed. What is Caroline class? And to my brother." I burst out laughing, pushing her away from me, and then I dropped the pictures off to the second trader and recorded a voice message. "Kevin, you arsehole. The business is mine now. All the best." Achingly with disgust, I said. Everyone around them was shocked by this conflict, but it was their own fault for going that way. People need to be punished, and I don't regret doing that. Kevin and my ex were in an accident. Apparently, God additionally decided to punish them. Much alive, but permanently disabled. You always have to be a decent person, and they've never been decent. Dear listeners, your support is very important to us. If you like our story, please like, comment, and subscribe. It's very motivating for us. We need your feedback to improve our content.